So, you see, it's a great menu. We won't be able to do everything, so...
We'll stay longer.
Huh?
We'll stay longer. It's all right.
I
We'll stay till 6, 7 tonight. No problem.
don't have time for you.
You know, Rabbi, also, I did this little thing this week. I did a Torah for the Rocky Mountain Rabbinical Council.
Go ahead, let's hear.
Okay, I'll do it b'kitzur. You know, we started with, I said mishpatim, and I looked around the room, and there was like Reform rabbis, conservative rabbis, Orthodox rabbis, 19 rabbis. And I said, so, mishpatim. So what does your movement think about mishpatim? As opposed to mitzvot, as opposed to chukim? And at first they thought I was kidding. So I asked the main Reform person.
Move the books away.
Stephen Foster. I called him Stevie. He was very unhappy initially.
So, just hold on for a second, please. And this
I said, Stevie, so what does your movement say about the mishpatim? And he wouldn't answer. He sort of like he just got annoyed that I called him Stevie.
Wow.
And then I went to someone else, and I said, and then a Chabad guy was there, Yossi Serbiansky, very sweet Chabad guy, and he actually took the question seriously. The Dvar Torah began like this. I started with, in Kedushin 82a, it says that Avraham kept all the mitzvot. So there is a Hasidic vort, I don't know from which Rebbe, that probably Zalman knows, but anyway, I don't know from which Rebbe, that how can you say he kept all the mitzvot? The mitzvot weren't given till Moshe years later. So I asked Yossi Serbiansky which Rebbe it was, and he couldn't tell me. He made a little joke about it. I said, you got to go back to school, Yossi.
It's Shneur Zalman. And
perfect, I didn't know it. That's a Gavalt.
And he is saying that in Torah, or which is the book from which I've chosen to do it, but it's not in this place. It's on Parshat Yisro.
Perfect. Okay. So I walked around the room. I said, so the Abrahamic. So what Shneur Zalman said was, well, Abraham did keep the mitzvah because he had a rule of thumb, and the rule of thumb was, if what I'm about to do will increase the love of God in the world, I'll do it. If what I'm about to do is going to decrease the love of God, I won't do it. Mm-hmm. So in that case, he kept all the mitzvot. So then I said to them, if this is so, why do we need mishpatim? Why don't we just stay with the Abrahamic rules? And then I said, so what does your movement say about mishpatim? And that's when Yossi said to me, well, you have to be more precise about, that's all well and good, but you have to be very precise in how you do the things to not be like a torn coat that doesn't cover you in the cold. Very nice. Michael.
I have a different take on it.
Please. Tell me about your movement.
We are told that Torah was created thousands of years before this world was created. And the world was created through Torah. So Torah was there from the very beginning. And it was something that was known in the consciousness of Adam, innately. And through the sin of Adam, the ability to know truth, reality, Torah was diminished and continued to spiral downward over time. As Adam said, I sinned and I will sin again, meaning that because of the original sin, his ability to know truth and reality was diminished. So the spiral downward started. Torah had to be given again in a written form only when people no longer were in touch with it.
Okay, very nice. Okay.
Yeah, that's the Tao Te Ching in a way.
Yeah.
When he says, when harmony was lost, you had friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And all when you get to that which contains both sides, and then it gets lost, and then you pick the good side, as it were, rather than the bad side. So you've broken up the oneness of it. Yeah.
So, so interesting. So the final result was, I said to them, and this is when Rabbi Foster took me more seriously. I said, I ask you this question because I don't have an answer. Because I'm a Jewish middle rabbi, and I have a mixed marriage, in that I keep kosher, for example. I wear tzitzis, and my wife has her form of kosher, but not something that's recognizable to any kind of halachic authority. And I have a little son who's watching both of us trying to figure out to follow daddy or to follow mommy. And so I'm constantly in this question of what are mishpatim and what are mitzvot, what are chukim, and how much of that should I follow, and how far can I stretch sideways. And I was really asking them as fellow rabbanim to take the question seriously, in their own lives, in their own communities. How much is it just lip service, and how much is it really just really tuning into, what's happening in your heart, in your life, about stuff that you read in the Torah? Do you take it literally? Do you take it metaphorically? Do you just tell it to your congregants and ignore it yourself? Where are you at? And at a certain point, I got some response, but it's really hard to get rabbis to tell you what's in their hearts, even when they're with other rabbis. Which is what I was trying to do. I was trying to loosen them up a little. That's why I called him Stevie Foster. I said, Stevie, I know you 15 years, Stevie.
The funny thing is that this is too much of a challenge in a way. Hi, folks, get the chair for yourself. You can walk through.
Oh, through here.
Yeah, you can take the other chairs if you want, the leather ones, the happier ones. Okay.
So it's too much of a challenge, you were saying?
Yeah. The point if you would have turned and said to them, tell me, Chaverim Rabbanim, I'm looking for Chomer Ledrush on Mishpatim. They would have opened up a whole bunch. Oh yes, I know exactly what I want to say on the Mishpatim. Yeah.
Right, but I didn't want that.
I know.
That's too easy. Well, that's actually too intellectual. That's too.
If you would have started with that and then sprung the trap.
Oh, later.
Okay. Because then they couldn't pull back anymore. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
It doesn't want to open the chair?
Not that one.
Okay. There's a trick to it, but it's all right. So, with all this plethora of wonderful stuff, first of all, Yasher Koyach. It is so good that you have... you forgot to take this last time?
Oh, thank you.
That's the issue.
Thank you.
There's another chair, I think, one of those with here you are, okay. So, I was saying before that I'm having trouble today to make up my mind because there's so many good things to be done. The first thing is, last week was a yard side of the Kotzk, and there's a beautiful piece I want to share with you. Secondly, there is an Ibn Ezra on this Sedra that's extraordinary. And I copied that one out. And third, as Reb Shneur Zalman has a wonderful Torah on, and that one we can make a hemshech on next time. So it doesn't all have to be happening today because it deals with how to handle the anthropomorphisms in the Torah and what do they refer to on a higher plane. Good stuff.
From who was that last one?
Reb Shneur Zalman in Torah Or. The other thing that I have here and I wanted to share with you is that Reb Daniel sent me a copy of another chair over here of what I did a number of years ago as Credo of a Modern Kabbalist. And it's now together and it's a great book. And so I wanted to share shtiklach from that. But that can also wait. That which is on the Cedric can't. So here we go first with the Kotzk because it's going to be too late. Anybody wants to have, I have another shtikle over here. Let me see, I give it to you. Shin Pei Dalet. Okay. Here we go. And the rest of you will have to hear, and if you want copies, later on we'll copy it, okay? Vayhi be'et ha'i vayeret Yehuda me'at Echav vayetat ish adulami. Remember that story, all that which brings the vicissitudes high of Yehuda and Tamar together because of he and his brothers, he was the one who had just said, don't kill Yosef. And having done that, so he's now in a situation where the brothers have shunned him some way. So now he goes and marries this Canaanite wife. So this is the posuk on which it begins, okay? Reb Shmuel bar Nachman Omer, Potach, Ki anochi yadati et hamachshavot. In Yirmiyahu it says, I know the thoughts. In other words, I don't just go by action, I check out motive. Okay? And to me, kavanah and motive is very important. So he says, Shvatim hayu oskim b'mechirato shel Yosef. They were still dealing with covering up about selling Yosef. V'Yosef haya asuk b'sako v'tarniso. And Yosef himself was in sackcloth and fasting. And Yaacov was also doing b'sako v'tarniso. Oy, ach torov Yosef. V'Yehuda haya osek likach isha. So while they're all tzadreit, and off balance, Yehuda goes and gets married. V'Kodesh Baruch Hu osek geboira ora shel Mashiach. And God makes from this the light of Mashiach. Okay, so they ask a question. Medrash zeh tamur lechol ro'im. How come? V'omer Rabbeinu HaKodesh Rebbe RaShaZ Pshischa is quoting Reb Simcha Binem of Pshischa, shemidrash ba lehorot lanu inyan nifla. The whole Ashvatim v'Yaakov hayu sugim betzom v'tzaka la'Hashem v'Ashvatim b'shvil mechiras Yosef gam Yosef al mechirato v'Yaakov hitabel al beno v'hayu mitpalelim la'Hashem b'chol libam b'chol nafshem. Oy 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 oy. Yehuda hayu osek likach isha nimtza le'ine bosa hayu inyanim yosel la'Hashem. If you go with normal human attitude, you say they are much holier, doing greater things than he, selfishly going away, getting married. Nevertheless, the Midrash says, She'ein shum adam yodea machshavot, hatmunot belev ish, ve'ra HaKadosh Baruch Hu yoter ma'aseh Yehuda mima she'bore ore shel Mashiach. And from this, God saw that the right motivation on Yehuda, and from this right motivation he builds Mashiach. Okay? Ad kan dvarov hagdoshim beremes gadol. Ki lo nitbaer klal ma hayta kavanat Yehuda b'nesiat isha. It didn't say yet. He says that he had a good kavanah, that God knew, but what was his kavanah? Okay? Nire bi'a dvarim. Ki kasher ra Yehuda ma shenase v'chenigra makol al yedei atzato. When he saw what was done, and all these tzoros because of his eitzah, namas levavo bikirbo v'halach b'mechiras gedola me'od ad ki nitbaltel mamish b'mtziuto. He was so tzahargit. Oy, seeing the immediate consequences, not the consequences, but the immediate consequences of his act, and he was broken. שכל כך דן בדעתו והחליט במחשבתו שבבד ההבת את כל מה שהשיגל מיום היוולדו עד היום. כמעט כל תנפשי מגודל המרירות. He figured, I've lost with this thing any merit that I've ever had is gone. I lost it. And no olam haba for this. עד כי ישב בדעתו, so he made up his mind, ואימץ את רוחו, strengthened his spirit, וגמר בליבו, in his heart he decided להתחיל, לקיים התורה מחדש. So you got to start all the way from the beginning. ולהכין לבבו מעתה לעבוד את השם ולקו כתינוק שנולד. So if I lost everything, so let me not stop and cry over what I lost. Let me begin as if I start mamish from square one. מפני שחשב, כי כבר איבד את כל הראשונות, he lost everything from before, והתחיל לחדש עבודתו בהמצווה הראשונה שבתורה. וזאת המחשבה. הייתה כל כך יקרה לפני הקדוש ברוך הוא, היודע מחשבות ובוחן לבבות, עד שממנו היה בורא אור של משיח. And I love that notion that from that new beginning, from starting all over again, that this kind of Chadish Yamenu Kikedem, like when in the beginning, not how it used to be before we lost it, but even before we even began, That's a wonderful, wonderful piece.
So in other words, in getting married, his motivation was to start a new family, and that with those children he'll start fresh and start a new
That's a further.
Kufa?
That's on top of the Kotzk. You say that. The Kotzk is going a lot more like a Lamden. So how do you start from fresh? The first mitzvah that's in the Torah is Birya Berivya.
Got it, okay.
So he does it that way. If someone would volunteer to go and do some Xeroxing, the machine is ready.
Be happy to do it.
Yes?
Yes.
So do the first, if you can do all, count the numbers, and if you can do all the pages, that's great, okay? The machine is ready. Thank you. Now comes Ibn Ezra, okay? Amar Avraham Hamechaber. I love Ibn Ezra. He's got
What are we
such
on?
wonderful
What
chutzpah.
pasuk are we on?
What is he commenting on?
This is a special piece. Sometimes he comments, and sometimes he says, I gotta tell you something.
Okay.
Okay, this is one of those. If you look at the way in which Mikos Gedolos has it there, you can see when there's a big shtickle Ibn Ezra, there's always a chunk of some philosophy that he is laying out there, and that's wonderful, okay? So, Amar Avraham HaMechaber, Yesh Chachamim Gedolim Chachmei HaShtei Torot, Torah Shebaal Peh, Torah Shebaal. It doesn't mean Old and New Testament. V'lo hitasku b'chochmot ha-tolda. Al kein lo yecholti lefarish elo ha-brachot im lo askir me'at min ha-chochmot. There are some brachos that God gives at the end of Mishpatim, so he's saying, I can't tell you about the meaning of the brachos unless I tell you a little bit of life, of science, min ha-tolda, how things are born in the world, okay? Ba'avur shegufa adam me'olam ha-shafal v'haneshama ha'elyona keshura bo. It has to do with understanding the relationship of body and soul. V'yesh emtza'im bein haneshama ve'aguf. Between the neshama and the guf, there are intermediate states. Hinehem shnei kochot u'b'lashon hakodesh yikra'u al harov ruach ve'nefesh. Got that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's laying it out so beautifully now. He's saying that there is the neshama, chelik olakam imal, vayipach be'apach, and there is the guf. But the neshama and guf can't work it out together unless the intermediary things are handled. He's going to be talking about centers in the body too. Ki haneshama hi ha-chochma u'moshava b'moach harosh, u'mimenu yatsa koach kol hargashot u'tnuat hachefetz. All sensory motor things. Tenuat hachefetz is a motor stuff, and hargashot is sensory. And from there comes all that stuff. It's located there, the awareness. Ve'haruach, so he's talked about the moach. Ve'haruach belev. Uvo chaye ha'adam. Vehi sham hamvakesh esrara להתגבר על כל העומד כנגדה, והיא בעלת הכעס. In Ruach, it seems to want to rule everything. The heart seems to want to rule the whole person. And anything that stands up against it, and that's why she is so capable of anger, or Ruach. Okay? V'chein amar Shlomo, al tevahel beruchcha lichos kol rucho yotzik sil. In Mishlei he says, don't get fatumult, to get angry so fast, because if you follow that spirit, you will be a fool. Okay? Another way of saying it, don't be reactive. Okay? Ve'anefesh bekaved, v'hu hamitaveh le'echol. The nefesh is in the liver, so he had talked about the three centers, moach, lev bekaved, and mochel liba v'kavda, as the Zohar has it, those three centers. And what happens in the kaved? Hamitaveh le'echol, wants to eat. V'kacha katuv, kitavat nafshecha, v'chol avat nafshecha tochal basar. So he's talking about, that's what nefesh is. And not only food goes there, v'tavat hamishkel mimeno, sex belongs there too, okay?
So it's all the appetites.
Huh? V'hinei yesh adam shenivra, There's a person who was created שתהיינה לו אלא השלוש הנזכרות חזקות או כולן רפות. Some people have such a constitution that all three centers are strong. There's some who are very weak. Or, או זו חזקה וזו רפה, או לא חזקה ולא רפה. All the possibilities are there between strong and weak, and all the places in between that these faculties can be. והנה, בני אדם, על כל זה מינים משונים, and so there are different kinds of people too. והשם הנכבד נתן התורה לחזק ולהגביר ולהגדיל הנשמה העליונה. The whole Torah is to help the neshama to be able to be the ruler over the person. ואז לא ימשול הגוף עליה, ואם לא תהיה התורה נשמרת, אז יגבר הגוף על הנשמה. If Torah would watch out, the guf would overwhelm the neshama. Okay. והנה אתן לך משל, ידענו כפי חוכמת התולדות, כי כל אדם שגבר על תולדותו מראה אדומה, יהיה בעל אף, כי כן תולדת האש. Now he's going to the four temperaments, and he's saying that the what is it, choleric?
Choleric.
Huh?
Fiery, yeah.
Yeah, that the choleric one has to do with fire and therefore the anger, and that is the red bile, going with Galen and all the other people.
And that would go at Ruach?
Yeah. Tina Lim, would you go and check who's at the door? Because I don't, the people who usually come down by themselves. I don't know who it is. כי המרה האדומה דומה לה, והנשמה רודפת אחרי הגוף, כאשר איננו חוכמה שתוכל לסבול. Enough already.
All right, that was the
Flashes
last one.
my head. Yes.
So where's he saying the choleric temperament is that a Ruach or Neshama?
No, he's saying that is in
Nefesh.
in Nefesh,
Okay.
okay? Because remember, the
Yeah.
gall and the liver are close together, and this is happening in that lower center, and it depends on, according to the Galen business, of what kind of a temperament you have that comes from the bile, okay? גם נחשב אדם שאין חום בגופו, הוא בא אחר, ואחר פה, וקיללו, עד שכעס.
FedEx left a box.
Okay. He says, oh, I didn't introduce Tina, my daughter. I take her for granted.
Are you sure?
I figure everybody knows her, you know?
We have a 10-year-old
Yeah,
daughter
Rabbi,
who could teach you how to
once-
teach your
you once
father not
gave
to
me
hate your
a
grand.
little work with
Doesn't even
Iraflax.
want that.
We helped Tina move here from Israel.
Yeah.
Early in
the
the
airport.
morning, 5 kids, 11 boxes.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
At 6 in the morning at Kennedy. It was a gebal. She was so cool.
Oh,
cool with
bless
those
you.
kids.
That was such a mitzvah.
It was fun.
Okay. So it is also possible that a person who by nature is not a hothead, still when he gets insulted, he's going to get angry. So that's the reason why Hashem yitale leman chasadav bachar b'Yisrael v'horem torato, כאשר ישמרו ימצאים חוכמתם וידריכם דרך ישר לכל דבר שלא יזיק להם. So that's why we have to have a Torah that even if we are of a weak constitution and we are still bound to get angry and so on and so forth, so to become reactive, so the Torah stops us. This is such a wonderful principle, by the way, because what happens is that if you look at every mitzvah, there is a way in which it has built in a, how would I say, a stopper for instinct. You know, I want to eat, make a bracha. Is it kosher? You know? Which means that I have to stop instinctual stuff and lead it to consciousness, so that my consciousness is going to tell me, which way I have to deal with it. So you can look at all kinds of things. They're consciousness trippers, you know? A mezuzah, a tzitzis, you know? Everything, the Eidos. And so this time we come to Mishpatim, it's also the same situation. These are things that you always have to flip consciousness up, know what you're doing. You want to stay and serve Ahavti et ishti es Adoni et Banai, you know, lo eisech hafshi, it's okay. You can stay, but be conscious. You had heard at Sinai, you know, as Rashi puts it there. So that whole issue is important here. So he said, for this Torah is given, it gives us that flip.
Right.
What
Ve-
kitta are you in?
Huh?
What kitta?
That's coming next.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to skip a little bit here because I want to get
He
to
couldn't
the
decide
other
what to do, so he's doing it all.
Da, כי כל הנולד יקראו מקרים כדרך מה שיורה מערכת המשורתים ברגע היוולדו. He's now talking about astrology, okay? I'll repeat it again so you can hear it in Hebrew. ועתה עכשיו, אדבר על חוכמת המזלות, דע כי הנולד יקראוהו מקרים כדרך מה שיורה מערכת המשרתים ברגע היוולדו. Okay? וערך אלה אל אלה והדבר עמוק מאוד, the relationship of these, where the stars and constellations are, is a very deep thing. And by the way, for all the things that you say, we don't do astrology, we don't do astrology, we don't do
Right.
astrology. I remember there used to be on Rehov Ben Yehuda a little store that has Sforim there, and these were all the magical places, the magical stuff that Reuven Bakal printed from the Teimanim, Chochmat HaPartzuf, and he had something there goes to kinesiology, that Rifruf Evarim, if you get a little in the shoulder it means this, and if the nose goes it means that.
Great.
He has a whole thing. And Ibn Ezra had a whole geschäft about mazalot, how to deal, and the meaning of that, and what is Shabtai, and what is Kochav, and how they relate, and Levana, and so on. Okay. So this is a davar amuk meod. והנה יהיה כפי מולת האישה שתהיה משקלה, כי תולדת הרחם להשכיל הילודים, או שתהיה הכרה ולא תלת, והנה אם היה הדבק בשם במולדו כפי תולדו של לא יוליד בנים, והשם הנכבד היה דבוק בו, יאמץ כוח תולדת הכליות ויתכן עלילות הזרע עד שיוליד בנים. The stars, it may have been, what's the word, disastrous, astro stars, right?
Nice. I never
It
saw
may
that.
have been against the stars, that thing. Nevertheless, there is a way in which God can interfere to heat up that center, the liver center, so that there should be more stuff going through the kidneys and coming through zera, so that one should be able to beget. על כן אמר השם לאברהם, התהלך לפניי והיה תמים, וזהו שאמרו קדמוננו, צא מההצטגנינות שלך. I give you the freedom to go out. Lech lecha means you can now go forth from your chart.
Wow.
Okay?
That's great.
All the
You're
things
free
that...
of muzzle.
right.
Free of the muzzle.
Right. All the things. צא מהצטגנינות שלך. ואם תיחוד ברית עמי, שתעבדני, אני ארבה אותך במאוד מאוד. If you are making chitat brit with me, says God, I will give you plenty children. Why? Ki anatzeach hatoledet, for I will be overcoming nature in this thing, okay? ואין זה ניצוח במערכת הכוכבים, כי לא נבראו להיטף או להירא לעולם השפל. רק הולכים תמיד לעבוד את השם לצורך מרוצתם. It's not that God is going to overcome the stars and change them in their course. That lucky old sun ain't got nothing to do but roll around heaven all day. He says, רק הולכים תמיד לעבודת השם לצורכם ובמרוצתם. יקבלו בני העולם השפל דבר והפוך על ידם. That's not so. והנה אם נשמור לא נקבל, ועוד אדבר על זה בפרשת כי תישא, etc., etc. But I wanted you to hear.
How is that a hakdama from Mishpatim? I'm
Pardon?
trying to figure out what was the. He said at the beginning that before you get into Mishpatim, you need to understand this. This is like a hakdama. No? Did I misunderstand something? What you just read? That it was a hakdama.
Yeah, that then he wants to say, this is how he explains that God, because there are some brochas mentioned at that part. If you keep the mishpatim, you'll get those blessings. So he's saying, I want you to understand at this point that blessings can overcome astrology. That's basically. But whenever I find a gem where he talks, he's delicious. And when he picks up and says, so-and-so, even the Gaon says this and that, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, he's a toughie. Here, this is for your eyes.
Victor.
For your eyes only.
Rabbi Zalman, so he's saying that Hashem,
Yeah,
it's not
bigger.
that Hashem
It's bigger.
overcomes the mazalot, or Hashem overcomes the
Yeah.
laws of
He needs another
nature.
one then.
Then what is it? That
How much
Hashem,
we got?
at the end, he said it's not that Hashem overcomes the laws of teva.
No, but he pushes the buttons, as it were. He has said the power of ruach is that it sits in the liver, that it gets these things going that have to do with food and with sex. And he says that, and he had used a quote where he said that God empowers the ruach to do this or that. And that's his way of saying that, how do we know that blessing works? Because even if the situation is there that the body doesn't quite, isn't quite ready for it, another way of saying it, the matrix can change, and that the divine intervention is on the matrix of that, and that is so important. That it's really the thing. So let's launch a little bit into Reb Shneur Zalman.
Well, in the transcendental meditation teaching from Rishi, he talks about meditation overcoming karma. It's the same thing.
In
It's
the
the same
same
thing,
way.
yeah.
Well, I tell you, he makes it as if it's dependent so much on the individual, and he is saying it's the Rabbeinu Shalom. That's the only difference between here. But
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 isn't it at the end the same thing?
My teacher.
because italuta de le'ela, italuta de
watching
le'tata,
you
always
today.
the same question. It's clear that when he was saying to Avraham Avinu that he wants him to hitalech lefanai ve'yeh tamim, and he wants to have a kritat brit, so he has to also make a keli for it to happen. If he hadn't made a keli for it, then that wouldn't have happened for him. So you hear that? That's of course connected. Yeah. All right.
An opportunity to make a
Get
bracha.
I got one.
Okay, I'll keep it for a little later. Okay. I don't
Thank you,
want
brother.
Okay. So, Vayiru et Elokei Yisrael v'tachat raglav k'masei livnat asapir. That's a wonderful part in the Sedra, where after he takes the Zikanim and he takes the Nesiim, and they have a meal with God. And that's and they saw something. Okay? And so much so that Tachat Raglav Kemase Livnat Hasapir. Now in the iconography of ancient Near East and other places, gods always had a pedestal. You know, if you have seen the Mary Guadalupe, yeah, she stands on the moon, as it were, right? There's always so that if you translate it into other early language, you would say she's a moon goddess, right? Take a look. Terach's name has to do that he is a moon servant. Yareach, Terach, right? And so you see that there is a description of. Now he's trying to say something that this time, ki lo reitem kol temunah, that even the pedestal in which the appearances of God, as described in the Chumash, even that is not in the same kind of form. Okay, livnat hasapir. What does that translate? A brick of sapphire. Okay. Now. Hine, inyan tachat ragla. What does it mean? כמו שכתוב, ועל דמות הכיסא, דמות כמראה אדם, ובבחינת מראה אדם שייך יד ורגל, והוא מה שכתוב אחר כך, ולהציל בני ישראל לא שלח ידו. So, here we are talking about body parts in God. So how do we understand it? אך צריך להבין מה שייך לומר כן באלוקות, והלא אין לו גוף ולא דמות הגוף. In this translation, you know, ואין לו גוף ואין לו דמות הגוף ואין לו גוף. Here it says ולא דמות הגוף, but in Yigdal it says that ואינו גוף. So I heard this pshat like this. He doesn't have a body, and he doesn't even have a body of an eno goof. Ein lo demut,
Doesn't have a dream body.
aguf, ve'eno goof, meaning neither physical nor even spiritual. So how could you talk about that? Ve'ha'inyan dehinikti v'ani havaya lo shiniti. Now how could it be? Pirish ein shum shinui eslo yizbarach ben kodem briat ha'olam v'ishtalshelut olamot elyonim. בין לאחר בריאת העולם, וכמאמר, אתה הוא קודם שנברא העולם, אתה הוא לאחר שנברא העולם, אתה בעולם הזה, אתה בעולם הבא. So what is it that you are saying, hands, feet, and all these things? והיינו, לפי שמקור התאבות כל העולמות הוא רק מבחינת מלכותו יתברך, שהוא רק מבחינת הערה בעלמא. When you're speaking of what does the world consist of, what is the substance of the world, the substance of all the worlds is merely a reflection, a dim reflection of the divine. Okay? Dahainu ma she'amelech shemo nikra alehem. What does it say, for instance, remember Britannia rules the waves, from Mimizrach Shemesh ad Mevo was Britannia all over the world, right? At one point. So you would say, and the Queen would be greeted. I remember in Canada, you know, a toast to the Queen, you know, God save the Queen. Always this would happen. What does it mean that the Queen is a Queen of Canada? Meaning that the shadow of the shadow of the shadow of the Queen hovers over Canada. That's what it says. Malchut, what's Melech is in one place, but the Malchut, you know, is something that's spread over. מה שהמלך שמו נקרא להם, ולכן אין זו פועל שום שינוי חס ושלום במהותו ועצמותו. Now he follow this argument that he gives here. He says, what if we have just said that everything in the world is nothing than a reflection, how could anything that happens on that reflection influence the absolute? Impossible. Okay? I'm saying impossible with an O, and I'm saying impassible with an A. Because in all these philosophical considerations, God is impassible. He can't be made passive. Okay? לכן אין זה פועל שום שינוי חס ושלום במהותו ועצמותו, וכמו שאין אור וזיו השמש המאיר לארץ ולדרום עליה פועל שינוי, בעצם המאור השמש על ידי המשך האור להיות רק הערה. I can do all kinds of things, take a mirror, push shine the sunlight into other directions and all that stuff, but the sun, the lucky old sun, ain't nothing to do, yeah? So it doesn't get affected by that. So this mashal is important to him, and he uses it very often, ki shemesh u'magen, Havaya Elokim, that a light and a shield, the sun and the shield is Yud He Vav He is the sun, and Elokim is the shield, and so he is making it this way. V'nikra Gamkein Harazu Shmo Hagadol. That's what we call his great name. Shal derech mashol Shmo Shel Adam Eino Nogea Lemehuto Ve'atzmuto Ach Mikol Makom Harazu Hi B'chinat Ein Sof Upashut B'tachlut Hapshitut. So even the Ha'ara, the first reflection from the divine, cannot have any shape, he's saying. That is also in its basic simplicity. Lachein kedei sheyithavu mimena b'chinat olamot bigvul u'mida v'gam b'chinat hitchalkut hamadregot hu al yedei hitlapshut b'chinat kemare adam. There is in the divine a template that's called Mare Adam. Now think of people who have been talking about the anthropic principle. You know, the stupid stuff that's happening about the issue of education, of creation stuff, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you want to say, would I not want that creation should be taught in the schools? Of course I would. But what creation? Not 5,700 whatever years. And I wouldn't even want to say the other way either, that this excludes evolution. I would just say yes, creation, and this is how creation works. You know, but the people who are pushing creationism are pushing so hard for the other date and to exclude. So the battle is to exclude evolution, to exclude Hishtalshalut, you know. And I'm dafke for the Hishtalshalut. I'm reading stuff like that. Hishtalshalut, Hitlapshut, you know, it's putting itself in and comes down, it moves through a chain of being, if you will. So what's the tainut that they have against creationism? So it turns out that the people who were on the other side, namely the side of Big Bang, etc., some of them had before said that if you look at the concatenations of how things had happened, they couldn't have happened in exactly the same way in the universe, except for producing human consciousness. You know? And there are some people that want a strong theory of anthropic principle, and there's a strong principle, there's a weak principle. But even the weak principle is saying that while it can't say it sure is this way, it says, I wonder, couldn't it be that way if you look at all the things, the antecedents for our reality today. Okay, good. Now he says, here you see, okay, so then he has made the point and said that which makes things get detailed out and into the diversity and the interaction of nature, all that comes about because there's a template that's called Demut Kemare Adam. Okay, you see where I put this together with the anthropic principle now. Okay, Dahainu b'chinat hitlapshut ha'orot bekelim. When you say, you know, it's so strange when people talk Chassidus. Orot and kelim looks like bulbs, you know, and lights inside them, and so on and so forth. Even those words, orot and kelim, are mishalim, you know. So then, if you get to the place of how do you see orot and kelim in a way that's, wow. Even I were called once to a bedside of a young woman who was in a coma, and there was a question. They were saying she was already brain dead. There was a question: is there anything we could do? And so we prayed their blue shofar and so on and so forth. And the encephalogram didn't show anything, that anything was heard or noted or so on and so forth. And yet the heart was still beating. She was on life support at that point. Now, what this would mean is that the Moach was still there, was still receiving blood. It was still involved in some kind of exchange of biological exchange of that, you know? So it didn't rot yet, you know, it still had oxygen in there. On the other hand, what was supposed to be the ore wasn't there. There was only the keli, you know. So you get a whole other understanding of ore and keli if you don't make it a vessel in the gross language, okay? ובחינת כמראה אדם הוא בחינת נשמת ישראל. כמו שכתוב, אדם אתם כי ישראל עולו במחשבה. Okay. A lot of stuff he packs together here, but let me unpack a little bit. So what do you say anthropomorphism means mare Adam? Anthropos, Adam, morph, shape. You know, so you have this anthropomorphism is of the same fractal as Neshamas Yisrael. Now, toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. So what, if I were to say, who is the Master in this situation? That's the Damut Kemare Adam, which is formed by, you know, almost the master plan by which this thing is going to happen. Okay. And now, also this says, Yisrael alu b'machshava. Before there was such a thing as Yisrael, there he says, it arose in the divine consciousness. That whole notion of an arising in divine consciousness is when you say, what's Adam Kadmon? You know? The first notion that there should be personality and it should have a center which is over and against the divine, in which there could be dialogue and there could be a story and there could be love and there could be interaction. All that, when it first flashes, that's Adam Kadmon. When it first flashes in this to the infinite, you know, what an amazing thing. Okay. וכתיב ושכנתי בתוכם בתוכו לא נאמר שהם כלים להשראת שכינתו יתברך. So he's saying, so we are the kelim then for that ore that comes down, that settles itself among Neshamas Yisrael. And this has to be in order that God should have a dira betachtonim. Hainu, lishkon shchinato b'Yisrael, shezeu pirish Yisrael alu b'machshava. And the pasuk says, Machon l'shivtacha pa'alta Hashem. Where is that? At the end of Oz Yashir. Ve'achshav, hashra'a zu rak b'neshamas Yisrael v'loi b'gufim shelahem. Mipnei sheba nachash al chavo v'hitil zuama. ואף שבמתן תורה פסקה זהו הוא מתן, אך על ידי חטא העגל ושאר העוונות חזרה הזוהמה בגופים שלהם, שהגוף נקרא משחה דחיביה. The body is called the snake skin. Okay? We're gonna keep coming.
Snake skin? Mashcha dechivya?
Yeah.
How do you say it in modern Hebrew?
Snake skin? Nachash or nachash?
Or hanachash, that mashcha, the skin, chivya is of a serpent.
It sounds Aramaic rather than
Well, let me just say this. This issue of paradigm shift is so strong that whenever I'm reading a text that comes from the previous paradigm, there's always going to be something to put the body down. Okay? And it was lahavdol among them, original sin, not original blessing, you know. And it comes on for us also. We can't get rid of chapter 3 in Genesis, you know. It still is part of the Torah. So,
Could take an X-Acto blade. I've always had this, you know, I've had this fantasy of taking an X-Acto blade and cutting out the parts that I don't want to have in there anymore.
We won't repeat that.
Ouch. Thank you.
You know what?
Can't
People
believe I
people
did
have
it.
done something like this. Steve
I'm not
Mitchell,
talking
from time to
with
time,
Uh-huh.
when he does Job, he cuts out what he doesn't like. You know.
It was like the first one that I know of was Pathways Through the Bible.
Yeah.
Pathways Through the Bible,
Right. What-
Mortimer Cohen.
Right.
It basically was the nice stuff,
Yeah.
you know, and they used it in the Hebrew school. And then 4 or 5 years later, you'd see kids who had grown up and come across the Gideon Bible or something
Yeah.
and said, I didn't know it was in there.
Yeah, sure.
That's
You
right.
know, and
So anyway, I just want to say we have to, in our own work, we have to go back and do something about rehabilitating body. And so that's the pshat that's coming up about Tchiyat HaMeitim. You know, when you go, Ein aroch lacha Hashem Elokeinu b'olam hazeh, ein zolat malkin lacha ela baba, evet bidach goalim lemot HaMashiach, ve'ein dom lecha Moshiach l'Tchiyat HaMeitim. And the teaching that keeps coming is, and Reb Shneur Zalman himself said it in a place, that up to Tchiyat HaMeitim, the Guf learns from the Neshama. Comes Tchiyat HaMeitim, the Neshama will be learning from the Guf. And it turns out that all the things, you know, you look at Nexus here in town, and you see how many people are working on the Guf here, and the teachings of the body. So I think we need to, in our mind, think about, as we hear this is not necessarily an indictment as to where we are with our
Who said that about the
Pardon?
Neshama learning from the goof? Oh, Shneur Zalman says.
Yeah.
so where did that actually get learned that you find that? Because that's not Greek.
What?
I mean, the denigration of the goof
Yeah.
is not flowing through Greek philosophy. So even some of these who are heavily influenced by either Platonic or Aristotelian thought,
Even Greek philosophy was
So
not,
they schism?
the pre-Socratics
right,
had a much better idea of
Right.
that also. The problem that came in was in the Gnostic period. Go back
Right.
to that place just before Jesus, you know, when
Right,
Gospel of
okay.
Thomas and that kind
but
of stuff.
that's late.
That's late.
Yeah,
Because in Tanakh we don't have that much of it.
right, right.
You know, when, for instance, in Mishlei, when he's putting down the whore, you know, and he's saying, what, that's this bad woman. Not for a moment does he talk about a goof or a Yetzirah
Right.
about that. That comes in later. And so when you have in the intertestamental period, that's where the thing starts coming in. And it gets imported a lot from Zarathustra, Zoroastrianism.
Right. It's more it's more Hellenistic than Hellenic.
Now I'm saying underneath the Hellenistic is still the Mithra cult.
Right.
That which had Ahriman and what's his name, and Ahura Mazda.
Mazda.
Okay, so the Desert Fathers. Desert Fathers were people who came after the Dead Sea Scrollers,
Right.
you know, and you see the description what they have to say about the goof.
Right.
And about sex and stuff like that. It was very much mashcha dechivya, you know, this is what's coming down. Yes.
No, just.
Okay. אבל לא בנשמתם, כי חלק השם ממש עמו. כי חלק ממש עמו. וכנודע שהנשמה אין צורך תיקון לעצמו. The neshama doesn't need a tikkun for itself. When the Rebbe Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak was arrested, he is now in handcuffs, being led up on the train to take him to Kostroma in Siberia. And he turns around, holds on to the thing, turns around, and he says, Yehi Adonai Eloheinu imanu kasher haya im avotenu, al yazvenu v'al yitshenu, he said to them. To the people, the Chassidim were around there, and he said, only our body has been put into exile. Our neshama has never been put into exile. Over our neshama, nobody has any right, only the Rabbeinu Shalom. You get that strength that he has here. אבל לעתיד שיזדחכו גם הגופים, כמו שכתוב, ועצמותיך יחליץ, you know, חילוץ עצמות, that's what we're praying for Rosh Chodesh pension. And what is it that he's saying here? That לעתיד לבוא, chalutz is a very interesting word. Do you know where it comes from? Chogern and Chalutz.
From
Huh?
It's from
Let not the
But-
one who puts on the sword preen himself as if he were already coming back from battlefield, taking off the sword.
Huh, where is that?
No, I don't remember that. We'll have to look at it. It's a good posik. I'm sorry, I can't remember. But I know that this posik exists. And we can Google it up on
Isn't
the
there also
thing.
something with Chaltza Nafshi? Is that the same source?
That's right. So it means release, opening up, you know. So Chilutz Atzamot is like saying the relaxation that comes when the bones are locked up, and instead of being locked up, they get freed, okay? So he's saying, La'atid lavo, the goof is going to be so purified that it will be carrying it. V'ruach hatuma avir min haaretz. Achti, v'nigla kvot havai al kol basar, ki yizdachech hachomer, al shi'eh b'chinat gilo elokut gam begufim. See that? Ma she'en ken achshav en hagilo rak b'neshamas bilvad. Okay? So he is allowing for that there will be a time when the goof will be. V'hine b'chinat gilo elokut b'neshamas Yisrael. Hine hu nimsha b'tzior adam. That comes down in this human form, okay? וזהו אדם, אתם פירש על דרך מושל משכן הנשמה פרטית באיברי הגוף, שהיא גם כן בציור אדם. You know, if the goof is like a shoe into which the neshama fits, so the neshama has to look like a goof in this way. It has to have that shape. כמו אור השכל שורה במוח. See, that's what we just talked about. דווקא, והמידס בלב, וחיצוניס המידס בידיים, חסד רואי ימינו, the right arm is חסד, etc. etc. ודרך פרט, הן הרמ"ח איברים פרטים שמתחלקת הערת הנשמה בהם, the רמ"ח איברים, the רמ"ח מצוות עשה become the 240 limbs, ודרך כלל נחלקים לגימל קווים, דרואי ימינו ושמאלה והגוף באמצע. So you see the body in 3 lines, right, left, and middle. Now, having said all that, he says, switch with me. Kemo Kain, similarly, Yuvan Lemala b'pchinas Gilo Yalekus b'neshomes Yisrael, Noda b'sharim ba'ara, b'kol chad lefum ma'ida meshair b'libei. This is such a wonderful posik. Se'u sha'arim roshechem, lift up your gates or head, right? So what does the sha'ar mean? It means the imagination. And as much as you can imagine in your heart, that's how you know God. And each person has one aspect of that in them. V'yesh neshama shem mibchinas mochin shem kli lebchinas haTorah. There are some neshamas that are intellectual, they get Torah. Then Rosh Alpha Yisrael, and these are the heads, the rabbis. V'yesh neshama shein kli lebchinas hamidas, and there are some neshamas that are heart neshamas. V'yesh neshama shein b'chinas regel. Ach mekol makom bekulam nema noda b'shorim. In all those gates where they let him in, this one lets it into a leg, this one lets it into an arm. I mean, if you imagine, I can think of a person who does a lot of tzedakah. And what do I see when I see that person? God's right hand is acting through that person, you know? When I think that way, this is a person who is God's right hand man. Pirish noda loshen chibo, noda, v'hodam yada, nitkasher, you get the idea? It gets unified, noda loshen chibo, v'yitkashrut, kedimyon chibo v'yitkashrut aneshama beguf. Shem heyot שהנשמה היא רוחנית למעלה מגדר גוף גשמי, אף על פי כן היא מתקשרת ומתלבשת בגוף גשמי. So the soul can invest herself in a physical body. כמו כן, נמשך גילו ערן סוף ברוך הוא שלמעלה מבחינת חוכמה ומידס, and so there is derived the revelation of the infinite light, which is way beyond chokmah and midas, and it dwells, it invests itself in the Neshamas Yisrael, so that their totality is like a human being. ואפילו מבחינת רגל, מבחינת הכביים יש בהם. You know, v'haya ekev tishme'un, you know? It'll be when even the people who are the bottom of the Shiur Koma of our people will be able to hear that. Ma'ale Yisera shema'amidim et harosh. They get the extra credit for holding up the head. Umolichin otom makom lamakom. Ma she'en ken bekoach harosh levado bilti haregel. It's impossible for the head to get from one place to the other without the feet. And you get the sense of the organismity or something that he would like to be able to talk about here by saying, if you understand organism, yeah, then you see from that understanding of organism what kind of a model it is. I've been saying, for instance, that the mechanical model is out and the organismic model is the one that works. And I get this from this thing. So there's an organismic understanding of how the chain of yes.
When was it in our development that the lathe, which was really for so long the center and it really was the moach, was the center of the human being, became split? I mean, he's really clearly talking about moach and rosh, and certainly the Zohar talks about those three. But you know, b'chol v'avacha really was clearly in our ancient history. Lathe was the nexus place, the center.
Right. I don't know. I would want to say somehow before we'd have to really pay a lot of attention to the wisdom literature to see what happened, because there's an element in wisdom literature that still kept saying heart, and there's another element in wisdom literature that makes Sophia become a mental thing. And I don't know where it is, but I just have a
it's
feeling.
that far back though. It's like
I had a sense that it was much later, in the sense that I mean, what was nice about using the heart was there was no duality. It was all centered in one place, both the mind and the emotions. And for some reason, I'm thinking of that it was much later with the advent of like Faraday and the people who did dissection, when they began to realize that there was a clear separation in the mechanistic workings, that there became the realization that thought originated up here and emotions here.
Earlier. It's much earlier, because you already see that our medieval people who were talking about Moach Shalit al Alev were already saying that before Faraday. Before the,
Rambam.
In the Rambam you have it clear in his understanding about Moshe Rabbeinu being Seichel Hanivdol and so on and so forth, and the heart is not to be trusted because it has a lot of imaginal stuff. But I'm saying I really figure that somewhere in wisdom literature the distinction between heart and head comes up.
You're talking about our wisdom literature, right? Right. Mishle.
Well, it's the same as their apocryphal.
Yeah, that's really.
That's like 2nd, 3rd century BCE.
Yeah. A lot of stuff was happening at that time. You see the result of, take a look to Buddha. If you see the axial age, which happens about 300-400 BC, then you have the Yirmiyahu, Yechezkel, and Yeshayahu, and you have Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, and you have Mahavira and the Buddha, and you have Lao Tzu and Confucius, and Zarathustra, all happening at that time. So you say, what's going on? And so people have said there was this blip on the radar of the global brain, and those people had kalim that were big enough to contain what they had seen in the moment of the blip. I forgot what his name was now. He had 3 great Greek mystics, had 3 great moments, and out of that he pulled out so much thought, because in the days of acid I would say to people, it's all right, you were there. When are you going to do the homework and go over wonderful stuff that you saw at that time, because there's so much illumination coming, and it gets lost when you don't put it into kalim, you know? So,
I'll revise everything I said. The fact that the Egyptians were engaged in brain surgery, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of years
Yeah.
before that time.
moreover, the three centers, Baraka, was already in the
Yeah.
Egyptian Book
So
of the
they-
Dead.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
uh-huh. The baraka was an Arabic word.
It's an Arabic word, but the Sufis found that in the three centers, Ka, Ba, and Ra. Ra is the highest one
Right.
because Ra is the sun god. And then there's the Ba, I think it's the heart, and Ka is the Dantien, you know.
Did they start from Ba? Baraka.
Yeah, no, the Sufis would.
They would.
The heart is in the center. Okay. So,
Did you see that movie, Baraka?
let's go back to the next paragraph. We got a little bit of time still left. והנה פירש ועניין ועל דמות כיסא דמות כמראה אדם. See it?
Yep.
So, Mahu Inyan HaKisei, what does it mean that God sits on a throne, you know? העניין הוא שכדי שיהיה את אהבת הנבראים בראי יציר אסיר, מלבד שהם בבחינת גבול או מידה, עוד זאת, הם בחינת יש ודבר נפרד בפני עצמו. It is true that, first of all, they're now contained in finite boundaries, and also they experience themselves as separate. לכן אי אפשר להיות התהוות על ידי המשוכת האור והחיות מבחינת כמראה האדם עצמו, שהוא מבחינת ביטל בתכלס דבאצילות, יהיו וגרמי אחד ממש, אלא הוא על ידי מבחינת ישיבת האדם העליון על כיסא. Stop. If you, I wish that even PowerPoint at this point isn't enough yet, because I'd like it to be more dynamic. But if you could imagine like this kind of swirl that's going on, infinitely, 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 and all of a sudden there's a center, and the center starts looking like an embryo, like a child, like a person, and you get that Adam Kadmon is coming up and growing and expanding over space and time, whatever there is of space and time at that time. And so it is not yet separated from the infinite. It still is floating in the infinite. And that's how he sees it in Atzilut, where it says, Ihu v'gormayu chad. He and his effects are one. You cannot separate God from the effects that God is making below. Okay, got it up here? Now he says, but from that oneness, there can't yet be separation. So there has to be a parsa mafseket ben Atzilut the Bria Yisir Asir. There is a screen, as it were, that's between them. When that screens down or downscales, what has to happen? And zooming out, you know, out is very nice here, you know, separating from it, zooming out, it becomes smaller, okay? Zooming in becomes bigger, zooming out becomes smaller, and now it's become really small, and now you can send it through that screen, and it has become, in some way, more finite, okay? Now, that thing that now shows itself also, since the whole notion, you know, I'm kochen about the whole business of the fractals of God, okay? In a way, I could say, I wake up in the morning and I say, Rabbi Shalom, you want to be Zalman again? Enjoy Gesundheit. I'm a fractal of God, you know? You're a fractal of God. So when you start going through, fractals go from small places to big places, but that fractal that's coming down to make worlds, finite worlds, that fractal is in the world of Bria. And that one sits on a throne, as it were, okay? And so when they call him Betatron and Shmo Keshem Rabo, you know, when they Shaddai and Metatron have the same gematria.
Wow.
So you get the sense of, now all those pictures that are Michelangelo and other people are trying to show the old man sitting on the throne, being that this is how God is. What they're trying to do in some way is to picture what happens on that plane. So when I was in Dharamsala and I looked into that, I told you this, into the three-dimensional mandala, and in the center was sitting that bodhisattva with all the arms out, looking like a kruv, you know, in this way. And any depicting of that thing that we want to give to it, we have to recognize that we are trying to find a form for what we intuit on a deep level, and we can't express it any other way except by borrowing. So we borrow kruvim, we borrow birds, we borrow thousand-handed, thousand-petal lotus, whatever we borrow, we are trying to find expression for it. Okay. So that, he says,
But the image of Kisei on its own is a real kind of, transcendent image of God. But the pasuk in Yeshayahu that's Shemayim Kisiv Haaretz Adom Raglav, like this
again, yeah,
is a very different kind of image of a God who's both transcendent and immanent. And so the Kisei is almost like a relationship with the Hadom Raglav gives it a very different extension to the image of Kisei.
You're talking like an artist at this point. But if I go to where he is trying to say something about Ima Ilah Mekanana Bekusaya, that the supernal mother has her nest in the throne world.
Right.
So what they're trying to do is to talk about Bria, how Bria differs from Atzilut, and yet it has that shape, Gedemut Kemare Adam.
Yeah.
And he says, why is it Adam? Because Adam El Elyon, He doesn't take it to Adamah, but Adam El Elyon.
Right.
So it's like a collective, they're having this collective, I don't mean hallucination in the wrong sense, but they're all seeing into Bria a projection of the highest thing that they can envision.
Don't be ashamed to say that, because that's precisely what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's not that they intuit there is more. But the problem is to express what they intuit.
Isn't it interesting, though, that they've just eaten and drunk?
Hmm?
They've just had a masibah.
Yeah.
They've just eaten and drunk and reveled, and they've all, they've had this covenant, and they've just had this big picnic.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that it wasn't after fasting, it wasn't after, from that place of, in a sense, simcha.
Yeah.
They all went up together to the Bria plane to see what they could see.
Yeah.
Their divine cohort.
That's right. And you see,
So maybe
the big,
we're going about it the wrong way.
the big issue is always you stand in front of a wall and you're davening. If I were to ask, whom are you addressing? On the one hand, you'd start stumbling and saying, no form, no form, no form. On the other hand, your heart knows already you've been talking to Papa or to Mama, or to whatever shape, as it were, that the heart can take at this point. They're now trying to say something about the world of Bria and the governing of that world of Bria. Now, if you look at the word kisei, and you start thinking of all kinds of possible positions for sexual union. One of them has the sense of that the female is the kisei to
Well, it's
to
right
the
in the
male.
Zohar.
Huh?
It's right in the Zohar, the
That's right.
Kadavna.
At the iu tavidat beraza de echad, etc., right? Kusaya kadisha, So the sense of feeling enthroned there's after penetration in the sense of ruling your world in this way. It's a very powerful notion. So they're coming with empathy into that place, trying to give it some form. Now, philosophers and theologians hate that kind of stuff because it anthropomorphizes, it brings in sexual imagery and stuff like that.
It's dirty.
But sof, how else are you going to talk about it? And he doesn't mind, so he speaks. הנה על דרך מושל הכיסא שאדם יושב עליה, שהוא בחינת ירידה והשפלה למטה, you settle down, כך למעלה כתיב, וישב השם מלך לעולם. When you think of what it means, I'm sitting down, you know. I think of the Shechina Erev Shabbos, so busy, gekocht, you know, Eshet Chayil Miyimtza, she did the whole geschäft of the Eshet Chayil. And now finally, after Lichtbenchen, that first sitting down. You know, Vayeshev Hashem Melech Leolam. You know, that Adonai Malach Geut Lavesh, right? And then finally settling down. כי מלך לעולם היינו להיות המשכת מלכותו יתברך למטה להתהוות ביאה שהן עולמות הנפרדים נקראים המשכה זו בחינת ישיבה שהיא השפלה והמשכה והיינו על דרך הכיסא. What is כיסא? case aleph. It is a container for the aleph שהוא בחינת לבוש להלביש ולהלים האור וחיות הנמשך מבחינת א' אלופה של עולם להיות אל מסתתר. There he can go and have a hiding place. Yoshev Beseter Elyon, you have that again. כדי שיהיה התהוות היש ודבר נפרד. והנה על דרך משל ביושב על כיסא, הנה גופה וידיו הם למעלה מהכיסא, רק רגליו הם מושפלים ונמשכים למטה לארץ. And there is a pasuk that goes, רגליה יורדות מוות. Her legs go down into death. And that has been described to be the Shechina issue.
Where's that pasuk from? I'll do it. I'll do a regular. I'll do it.
Google it.
Thanks for it. I'll just Google it in my CD. Regleha Yordei Mavet.
Yordot
Yordot.
Mavet, yeah. So
Powerful.
בעניין עלה כיסא דמות כמראה אדם, שהמשכה ממנו למטה להתהוות הנבראים, היא רק על דרך משל מבחינת האחרונה of taking from the last name of is called Raglei. As he says, V'aretz Hadom Raglei. Now hold it. Remember when we were talking about Yud is the head, and Hey is shoulders and arms, and Vav is the trunk, and what's the Hey? Pelvis and legs.
Yeah.
And that's what sits on the kisei. You see that? So that's the Bechina of Hey Achrona, which is called Raglea. Okay. All right. There's more, and you can take the
What
sheet.
about the footrest, the Evan Sapira?
No, I don't know whether he takes it up toward the end. I don't remember finding it.
Thank you.
Yeah, he doesn't say anything more. I would like to know more about the Evan Safir too.
Gorgeous, such a gorgeous
Livnat HaSafir.
image.
So again, this is from
Alter Rebbe.
Alter.
Thank you. Good Shabbos.
And what's the name of the Sefer? It's or
Torah or
Torah or.
And you know, Livnat can be also Levana.
the whiteness of it, but Safir is dark blue.
But is more